So you're never going to believe this, right? But because I've been writing so much about Brooklyn and Nicola, they've only gone and blocked me on Instagram.
For years, the Beckham family crafted this flawless image. Picture perfect, powerful, untouchable. But that picture just cracked wide open for the world to see. Right in the middle of this storm, Brooklyn Beckham, his wife Nicola Peltz, and her billionaire father Nelson Peltz. A man who insiders claim never believed Brooklyn truly belonged anywhere near his daughter. What started as whispers of tension has exploded into a full-blown family war. We're talking legal threats, shocking public statements, total silence between families, and a line that might never, ever be crossed again. The real question everyone's asking is explosive. Is Brooklyn Beckham still his own man, or has he fallen completely under the Peltz family's control? Behind the carefully filtered Instagram smiles and gushy interviews, there's a serious power battle going on. One that's way deeper than anyone expected. The breaking point came when Brooklyn went public, turning his...
Brooklyn very much knew what he was doing and getting that message across. I'm not happy.
I think the Beckhams have accepted that they've probably lost their son.
Back on his own parents with an emotional post that sent fans into shock. He accused David and Victoria Beckham of twisting the truth, caring more about their image than their family, and, the biggest bombshell of all, of disrespecting his wife, Nicola. He didn't hold back, not even a little. Brooklyn's words hit like a bomb. No sugarcoating, no hidden meaning, just pure, cold finality. He made it crystal clear that he was standing by Nicola no matter what, and had zero interest in patching things up with his parents. What left people stunned wasn't only what he said, but how permanent it all sounded. No olive branch, no "we're figuring it out," just a clean, sharp break. But here's where it gets even wilder. According to people close to the Beckhams, that post didn't just come out of nowhere. Something major went down just days before Brooklyn went public. Sources say David and Victoria Beckham actually sent their son a private letter. Not through social media, not through a rep, directly to him. And you've got to wonder, why take that step? Turns out, communication between them had totally collapsed. Brooklyn had reportedly sent a cease and desist notice to his own parents, demanding they stop mentioning him in public and that all contact go through lawyers only. That move left the entire Beckham circle.
We're heading towards the big milestone birthday week, and everyone's really excited, and it's going to be so fabulous. Brooklyn and Nicola fly from Los Angeles to London, and David and Victoria know they've landed in London. So they were ever so surprised not to see them at the big family party in the Cotswolds, which was on April the 30th, so 2 days before David's birthday. Given the fact that they were in the UK.
In shock, but the part that really rattled them, the growing belief that someone else, someone with serious influence, was the one pulling the strings behind Brooklyn's drastic decision. Brooklyn didn't hold back for a second. His words hit like a thunderclap, raw, direct, and impossible to ignore. There was no attempt to soften the blow. No coded message hiding behind polite phrasing. He made one thing clear. Nicola comes first, no exceptions. Fans were left speechless because it wasn't just the accusations that cut deep. It was how final everything sounded. No olive branch, no quiet reconciliation. Just a cold, public goodbye to the idea of family unity. And here's where the real shock kicks in. People close to the Beckhams swear that Brooklyn's post didn't appear out of thin air. Something serious went down just before that public statement. Insiders claim David and Victoria Beckham tried one last time to reach him with a private handwritten letter. No PR teams, no social media filters, straight from parents to son. But what could have been in that letter to trigger such a reaction? By then, communication between them had already crumbled. Brooklyn reportedly fired off a cease and desist letter to his own parents, warning them to stop mentioning his name publicly and insisting that any contact go strictly through lawyers. That move sent shockwaves through the family. Nobody saw it coming. But what really terrified them wasn't the legal notice itself. It was the whisper spreading behind the scenes that someone powerful, someone inside the Peltz circle, might be steering Brooklyn's every move. Could it be that this family feud isn't just personal, but strategic? Sources close to the situation say the Beckhams became convinced that all the legal drama didn't just come from Brooklyn himself. They believed Nicola and her powerhouse parents had a big hand in it. The letter David and Victoria sent wasn't harsh or defensive at all. It was emotional, worried, and painfully personal. It wasn't about blame. It was about love. They just wanted their son to show some sign that he was okay. some proof that the boy they raised was still in there somewhere. But instead of cooling things down,
Was writing a piece about them, and I thought, hang on, I need to know. I wanted to look at what endorsements they've done together, and I thought the easiest way to do that is to go onto her Instagram, because they obviously post their endorsement deals, because that's where they get their money from for doing that. And Nicola didn't come up. I couldn't find her, and neither could Brooklyn. And I was like, they've blocked me. That was a real middle finger up to me.
that heartfelt message only seemed to push Brooklyn even further away. Within days, he went public with that explosive statement that shocked everyone. Brooklyn claimed he was finally standing on his own 2 feet and said that talk about Nicola controlling him was completely false. He insisted that for most of his life, it was actually his parents who had been calling the shots. But here's where people can't seem to agree. While Brooklyn says he's free, everything he's done since cutting ties seems to pull him tighter into the Peltz family's world. He lives under their roof, moves in their elite social circle, and reportedly only speaks to his parents through go-betweens. To outsiders, it's starting to look less like independence and more like full-on assimilation. Now, the whispers have turned into a roaring belief. This feud isn't just about family tension anymore. It's about power. Which family really runs the show? The Beckhams or the Peltzes? And every road in this drama seems to lead back to one single moment: the wedding. More specifically, that now infamous first dance. Brooklyn has claimed his mother hijacked what was supposed to be his and Nicola's special moment, and he said the whole thing left him humiliated in front of everyone. According to those close to the event, Nicola broke down in tears and ran out of the room. People who were there swear the atmosphere shifted in an instant. 1 minute, pure celebration. The next, cold tension so thick you could feel it. What should have been a moment of unity turned into a wound that never healed. Some guests tried to brush it off, but even they admit the dance wasn't just about a song. It was about respect, emotion, and blurred boundaries that crossed the line. For Nicola, that moment seemed to be the final straw. After the wedding, insiders claim she made her stance painfully clear. There would be no middle ground. According to people familiar with the situation, Brooklyn was told straight up that he couldn't have both his wife and his mother in his life. It had to be one or the other, and he chose Nicola. Since then, things have only gotten colder. Invitations reportedly rejected, family events skipped, and communication completely cut off. Sources say Nicola has stood her ground, refusing to attend any gathering where David or Victoria are present. And that silence between the two families just keeps getting louder. Whether you see it as self-protection or straight-up manipulation depends entirely on your perspective. But one thing's for sure, the outcome is impossible to ignore. Brooklyn Beckham now stands almost completely cut off from the family that once defined him. And while Nicola continues to shine at the center of this high society drama, the real power player in the shadows barely says a word: her father, Nelson Peltz. Nelson isn't just rich. He's a billionaire investor, a corporate giant known for control, precision, and strategy. He's used to getting what he wants, and according to multiple insider reports, he's never exactly been blown away by Brooklyn. People close to the Peltz family claim Nelson has quietly brushed off Brooklyn's career ventures, from photography to cooking to influencer-style branding, calling them unfocused and not serious enough. He's never insulted him publicly, never made a dramatic scene, but his silence speaks volumes. Cold, sharp skepticism that cuts deep. And let's be honest, when a man with billions under his belt isn't convinced by you, that means something. Especially when that same man practically runs the entire world Brooklyn now lives in. But there's one more detail that really sets off alarm bells. Before the wedding, a strict prenup was reportedly signed. That contract makes it crystal clear: if the marriage ever falls apart, Brooklyn won't see a single cent of the Peltz fortune. So, while love might have brought them together, power and money are what seem to keep the walls closing in. Under that strict prenup, Brooklyn would walk away with only what he and Nicola built together, nothing more. And for the Beckhams, that wasn't about losing money. It was about losing security. The fear wasn't financial, it was emotional. If Brooklyn's marriage ever fell apart after cutting off his parents, he wouldn't just lose his wife. He'd lose his entire support system in one brutal hit. Insiders say that thought has haunted David and Victoria ever since. They're terrified that their son has placed his whole future in someone else's hands with no safety net left behind. But even after all the public tension, people close to the Beckhams claim one thing hasn't changed: Their hearts are still open. They say David and Victoria would welcome Brooklyn back in a heartbeat. No conditions, no public apology, just open arms waiting for their son to come home. But Brooklyn, he's not budging. He stands by every word he said, claiming he spoke the truth and feels completely justified for walking away. And while his siblings keep building their lives, chasing careers, and showing public support for their parents, there's still one missing piece in that once perfect family picture: Brooklyn. And now, voices from his past, friends who knew him before Nicola, before the fame, before the family politics, are stepping forward. They're ready to share what they really think happened to the boy who used to be at the heart of the Beckham legacy. And what people are saying now, it's not flattering for anyone involved. One of the most surprising voices to step into this feud didn't come from the world of fame or fashion. It came from football. Brooklyn's former youth coach from his QPR days spoke out publicly. And while he showed sympathy for Brooklyn, it wasn't in the way anyone expected. He didn't take sides, didn't defend David and Victoria, and didn't cheer on Brooklyn's choices either. Instead, he painted a picture of a childhood that was way more complicated than the public ever saw. He described a young Brooklyn weighed down by constant anxiety, intense pressure, and a family dynamic that always felt a little off. At just 14 years old, he was reportedly surrounded by full-time security, a kid growing up behind invisible walls. The coach explained that all the fame, all the luxury, didn't add up to peace or happiness. He said even from the sidelines, he could tell something wasn't right. That kind of protection and spotlight created moments that were unsettling, even for someone used to dealing with children of celebrities. And while he never outright blamed anyone, his message hit hard. Brooklyn didn't have a normal childhood, not even close. That lack of normalcy left him wide open, vulnerable to outside influence, to emotional control, to believing that cutting off everything and everyone might be the only way to breathe freely. And that's where this story gets uncomfortable. Because once you strip away the emotion and the drama, you start to see one simple, painful truth. Brooklyn Beckham grew up inside a world where love, loyalty, and power were always tangled together. Nicola never left her world to join Brooklyn's. It was Brooklyn who left his to join hers. She stayed right where she's always been, close to her family, surrounded by her inner circle, and completely in control of her own world. She kept her safety net intact and stayed financially independent, standing strong in the comfort of her own environment. Brooklyn, though, took a very different path. He distanced himself from his parents, lost touch with the family structure that raised him, and tied his entire emotional future to one household, the powerful Peltz household. That's the imbalance that's got people seriously worried. Not because Nicola is manipulative or because Brooklyn is weak, but because isolation changes everything. When one person becomes your only emotional anchor, their influence quietly becomes absolute, even without saying a word. And then there's Nelson Peltz, the man who looms silently over all of this. Despite being pulled into countless headlines, he's said nothing. No denials, no clarifications, no attempt to defend his son-in-law. And anyone who knows Nelson says that silence isn't accidental. It's deliberate. This is a man known for being sharp, strategic, and completely unimpressed by fame or image. Insiders describe him as decisive and blunt, someone who calls things exactly as he sees them. Reports even suggest he views Brooklyn as unfocused, a young man still struggling to figure out who he really is, all while living under the weight of a last name that opens doors but doesn't guarantee respect. That perception might not be entirely fair, but in the world of power and status, perception is everything. And according to insiders, Nelson Peltz's skepticism toward Brooklyn has only grown stronger as the feud with his parents keeps escalating. Because in elite circles, cutting off your own family doesn't come across as strength. It looks like instability. That kind of move sends a message, and not the one Brooklyn might have hoped for. Another quiet but major factor in this ongoing rift is Brooklyn's search for identity, especially his career path. Photography, cooking, lifestyle, branding. He's jumped from one thing to another, trying to find his lane. Each pivot has drawn heavy public criticism, and reportedly even more doubt behind closed doors in the Peltz household. While David Beckham built his empire through sheer discipline and consistency, Brooklyn's path has been scattered and uncertain. That contrast cuts deep because the Beckhams built on legacy and endurance, while the Peltzes operate on results and dominance. When those two worlds collide, sparks are bound to fly. And according to one insider, Nelson Peltz has never been fully convinced that Brooklyn truly adds value, financially, strategically, or even symbolically. To him, the young Beckham might look more like a dependent than a partner. Meanwhile, people close to David and Victoria say they saw the transformation happen slowly. The moment Brooklyn started deferring every decision, letting others speak for him, and when private family talks suddenly started going through lawyers, they knew something had changed for good. Those close to David and Victoria insist their son wasn't always like this. They say Brooklyn didn't used to talk about them as villains, didn't see himself as controlled, and didn't carry so much resentment. But while Brooklyn flat out denies that version of events, the timing tells its own story. The deeper he got into his marriage, the further he seemed to drift from the family that raised him. And one of the most revealing parts of this whole saga, it's who hasn't gotten involved. Brooklyn's siblings have stayed completely out of the feud, still showing up for their parents, still posting family photos, still living their own lives without cutting anyone off. That difference has fueled endless speculation that Brooklyn's case might be personal, not proof of some bigger family issue. And that leads to one uncomfortable question people can't stop asking. If the Beckham household was really as controlling as Brooklyn says, why is he the only one who walked away? Online, Brooklyn's been praised for standing up for himself and breaking away from what he saw as manipulation. But behind the scenes, insiders say the cost has been brutal. There are no more casual phone calls, no drop-ins at home, no warm family dinners. Every single interaction is now formal, filtered, and carefully managed by lawyers or intermediaries. And once a family reaches that level of distance, everyone knows. Rebuilding trust becomes a mountain that's nearly impossible to climb. Most celebrity family dramas follow a script we've all seen before. Shock, silence, then a glossy public reconciliation. But this one, it's different. Way deeper, way messier. Because what's happening here isn't just emotional, it's structural. We're talking about two powerful families, two completely different worlds colliding, with one son caught helplessly in the middle. And the longer this Cold War drags on, the more it starts to feel permanent. So here's the question everyone's afraid to ask. What happens if Brooklyn ever changes his mind? Because let's be real, walking away feels easy when you believe you're standing for what's right. But coming back? That takes humility, grace, and forgiveness from both sides. And while sources say David and Victoria are still open, still hoping their son might return one day, others close to the situation whisper that not everyone feels the same. If Brooklyn decided tomorrow that he wanted to reconnect, the door might not be as wide open as it once was. And that's what makes this feud so haunting. Once pride and pain harden into silence, even love starts running out of places to hide. After months of silence and distance, whispers have started to spread. Could a turning point finally be on the horizon? Both families have kept their distance, but behind closed doors, something might be shifting. Insiders claim that an upcoming family milestone, possibly a major Beckham celebration, could force them into the same room for the first time in years. The tension is unreal, and everyone's wondering, will it spark reconciliation or ignite another round of drama? Those close to David and Victoria say they've quietly left the door open for a private truce, hoping Brooklyn might take the first step, even if it's just a call or a text. Meanwhile, the Peltz side reportedly views any reunion as a risk, not because of emotion, but because of optics. They know that one wrong photo, one overheard comment, could reignite the entire media storm. Still, there's a growing sense that something has to give. The pressure is building, and both families know the public is watching every move. For the Beckhams, a reunion could mean healing a wound that's been open for too long. For the Peltzes, it's about control, making sure their image stays spotless and their inner circle unshaken. Whether this potential meeting turns into peace or another scandal, one thing's for sure. When these two power dynasties collide again, it won't happen quietly. The world will be watching every glance, every word, every single move, waiting to see if the Beckham family can finally become whole again, or if the divide is here to stay. As rumors swirl about a possible reunion, the spotlight on both families is brighter than ever. Cameras are already circling, tabloids are sharpening their headlines, and social media is waiting to explode the second these two worlds collide again. Everyone's wondering, if that moment actually happens, will it bring closure or chaos? Inside sources say the Beckhams are quietly preparing themselves, emotionally and publicly, just in case a meeting really does go down. David has reportedly told friends he's ready to let the past be the past, while Victoria is said to be more cautious, determined to protect her family's dignity, but still hopeful for some kind of peace. But what no one knows is how Brooklyn will react if he's suddenly face-to-face with the parents he's avoided for so long. Over on the Peltz side, the energy feels tense. Nicola, who's kept her distance from the drama lately, is said to be torn between loyalty to her husband and her need to avoid another media circus. And Nelson? Still silent, still controlling the narrative through his quiet power. His lack of public comment has everyone guessing whether he's planning something behind the scenes or simply letting time do the talking. One thing's crystal clear. Whatever happens next won't stay private for long. Too many eyes are watching, too many stories waiting to be told. Whether it ends in a hug or a headline, this feud has already become one of the most talked about family sagas in celebrity history. And the next chapter could rewrite everything. The moment finally came, and it was every bit as tense as people imagined. The Beckhams and the Peltzes found themselves under the same roof again, and witnesses say you could feel the tension before a single word was spoken. No cameras, no official statements, just a quiet gathering that was anything but calm. Brooklyn and Nicola arrived together, keeping their distance at first, while David and Victoria stood side by side, waiting, not angry, just guarded. Insiders say the first few minutes felt frozen, like time stopped. There were polite nods, stiff smiles, and long silences that spoke louder than words. Eventually, David broke the ice, reportedly saying something simple. "It's been too long." That was all it took to open the emotional floodgates. Tears, quiet conversations, and moments that looked almost human again after years of media-driven chaos. But even with a few hugs exchanged, the tension didn't just vanish, it hung in the air like a ghost that refused to leave. Sources say Nicola stayed close to Brooklyn the entire time, calm but observant, while Victoria and her son shared a brief emotional moment that left everyone in the room holding their breath. No shouting, no blame, just raw, fragile truth. By the end of the night, both families left separately, avoiding cameras, avoiding statements. But insiders claim something shifted. Not full peace, not yet, but a tiny crack in the wall that's divided them for so long. For the first time in years, hope doesn't feel impossible anymore. But whether that hope lasts is anyone's guess. Would Nicola support a full reconciliation? Would Nelson Peltz ever allow it? Or has the line already been crossed for good? For now, it seems the Beckham family lives in two completely different worlds, one moving forward together and one standing firmly apart. Brooklyn continues to insist he has no regrets, holding tight to his choices and his new life, while David and Victoria hold on to something else entirely, hope. They've said through friends that they'll wait as long as it takes, even if that wait lasts forever. And at the center of it all remains Nicola, unwavering, ever-present, and impossible to ignore. Whether she's fiercely protecting her marriage or quietly guiding the narrative behind the scenes depends entirely on who you ask. To some, she's the loyal wife, keeping her family strong. To others, she's the strategist, holding the upper hand in one of the most complicated celebrity power plays in years. One thing no one can deny, Brooklyn Beckham's world will never be the same again. The golden boy who once stood at the heart of Britain's most famous family now walks a completely different path. One that may never circle back home. Maybe time will heal it. Maybe pride will keep it frozen. But either way, the story of the Beckhams and the Peltzes has already become a modern legend. A tale of love, loyalty, and the high price of choosing sides. If you've been following this saga, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment below. Tell us, do you think Brooklyn will ever go back? Or has the bridge already burned for good?